Can you imagine? A store manager so blinded by prejudice that he humiliates and accuses a black teenage girl of theft in front of a crowd, only to discover moments later that she's the daughter of the CEO who owns his entire chain. And by then, his career and reputation are already destroyed beyond repair. He looked at her in a disgusting, prejudiced way and accused her of stealing sneakers, even as she tried to show him her valid receipt. Why would a store manager destroy his own career just to embarrass a teenage girl? That's the same shocking question everyone is asking. If you love interesting stories like this that expose the truth, please give this video a thumbs up and tell us in the comments section where in the world you are watching this video, and also do well to smash that subscribe button. The bright lights of the busy Chicago department store buzzed overhead as 16-year-old Ivana Williams stood perfectly still. Her hands shook as she held the sneakers she had worked 3 long months to buy. Store manager Brad Thompson towered over her, his voice cutting through the store noise like a knife. "You really think you can just walk in here and steal whatever you want?" he shouted, ripping the shoes from her hands. A crowd began to form. People whispered and stared. Ivana's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Brad's red face twisted with anger as he blocked her way out. She had come here to buy shoes, not steal them. But his words hit her like a punch to the stomach. Ivana had grown up in a simple neighborhood in Chicago. Her father was a quiet man who never talked much about his job. She knew he was important, something about running a big company. But to her, he was just dad, the man who helped her with homework and made her laugh when she felt sad. Today was supposed to be special. She had earned every dollar babysitting neighborhood kids. She wanted to prove she could take care of herself. But Brad, with his perfect shirt and nasty smile, looked at her dark skin and assumed the worst. "Kids like you always think the world owes you something," he sneered. The words felt like a slap. Ivana's hands trembled, but she tried to stay calm. Her receipt was right there in her pocket. She had paid online and came to pick up the shoes. But Brad wasn't listening to anything she said. He waved over the security guard, a big man named Mike who looked uncomfortable but said nothing. More people gathered around them. Phones came out like hungry birds waiting for drama. Ivana's face burned with shame, but she stood tall and kept her voice steady. "I paid for these shoes. Just check your computer system." Brad laughed coldly and threw the sneakers onto the counter. "Nice try, kid. You're not fooling anybody here." The crowd whispered. Some felt sorry for her. Others weren't sure what to believe. Ivana felt every pair of eyes judging her. In their minds, she wasn't just a black girl shopping. She was a thief. And Brad was feeding that ugly story. But Ivana wasn't completely alone. In the crowd stood a woman in her 40s with warm brown skin and fierce eyes. This was Sarah Mitchell, a regular customer who had seen Ivana in the store before. The girl was always polite and respectful. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. She knew exactly what was happening. She had felt this same pain years ago, and it made her angry now. She stepped forward and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're making a big mistake, sir. That girl is no thief." Brad's head snapped toward her, his eyes narrow with rage. "Mind your own business," he barked. But Sarah didn't back down. The air felt electric with tension, and Ivana felt a spark of hope. Finally, someone believed her. Brad got louder and angrier. "I've been running this store for 10 years. I know a shoplifter when I see one." He pointed at Mike, who slowly walked closer to Ivana. Her heart sank, but she pulled the receipt from her pocket and held it up like a shield. "Here, look at this." Brad snatched it away. barely glancing at it before tossing it aside. "Probably fake," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. People in the crowd gasped. Sarah's voice cut through the noise again. "Check your computer system, or I'm calling your boss right now." For the first time, Brad looked worried, but he hid it behind an ugly grin. Ivana's mind raced. This wasn't just about the sneakers anymore. She was fighting for her dignity. Every stare felt like a weight on her shoulders, but she refused to break. Her father had taught her that real strength wasn't loud. It was steady and calm. She looked straight into Brad's eyes. "You're wrong about me." The words were quiet, but they had power. Brad wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone like her. The crowd sensed things were changing. Sarah nodded, standing strong beside her. Brad leaned closer and whispered so only Ivana could hear. "You don't belong here, kid." The words were meant to hurt her, but they only made her stronger. She thought about her father and his quiet strength. Something inside her changed. She wasn't just Ivana Williams from the neighborhood anymore. She was Ivana Williams, daughter of Robert Williams. And she wouldn't let this man tear her down. The store's automatic doors opened with a whoosh. A tall man in an expensive suit walked in. His dark skin glowed under the lights, and his presence commanded respect. The crowd moved aside automatically. Ivana's heart jumped. It was her father. Brad hadn't noticed him yet. He was too busy glaring at Ivana. But Sarah's eyes went wide. She recognized Robert Williams from the news, the CEO of the entire store chain. The mood in the store changed completely. Robert Williams walked forward, each step echoing like thunder. Ivana met her father's eyes. She saw warmth there, but also something cold and dangerous. He didn't rush to her side. He didn't need to. Just being there changed everything. Brad, still clueless, kept yelling and pointing at Ivana. This is what happens when you let kids like her think they can do whatever they want. The crowd fell silent. Phones were lowered. Everyone sensed something big was about to happen. Sarah stepped back, her job as Ivana's defender complete. A small smile played on her lips. Mike the security guard shifted nervously, looking between Brad and the approaching man. Ivana stood taller, still holding her receipt. With her father's arrival, she felt stronger than ever. Brad finally noticed Robert, his nasty grin fading as he saw the expensive suit and quiet power. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked, suddenly polite and fake. Robert didn't answer right away. He stopped beside Ivana and put his hand on her shoulder. Then he turned to Brad, his voice low but sharp as a knife. "I'm Robert Williams, CEO of this entire chain. And that's my daughter you're accusing." The crowd gasped so loud it seemed to suck all the air from the room. Brad's face went white as paper. His mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out. Ivana felt vindicated, but it was bittersweet. She didn't want her father's power to be her shield. She wanted the truth to be enough. Robert stared at Brad until the manager's confidence crumbled completely. I didn't know," Brad stammered, fumbling with the receipt he had thrown away. Robert picked up the receipt and examined it calmly. "This is valid. Paid in full." His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the anger underneath. Then came the shocking twist. Mike the security guard spoke up, his voice shaking but clear. "I saw her pay online. I told him to check the system, but he wouldn't listen." The words hit like lightning. Brad's head whipped toward Mike, betrayal flashing in his eyes. "You're lying," he snapped. But Mike stood firm. "I'm not lying. I've seen you do this before. Pick on kids, especially ones who don't look like you." The crowd murmured angrily. Ivana's heart swelled. Mike's courage was unexpected but powerful. Robert's face darkened. "Is that true?" he asked Brad. Brad's mouth moved, but no sound came out. His little kingdom built on fear was falling apart. "Enough," Robert said. He turned to Ivana, his voice gentle. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though tears filled her eyes. She had stayed strong, but the weight of everything was hitting her now. Robert looked back at Brad. "You're fired. Effective immediately." Brad's knees nearly gave out. His career flashed before his eyes as the crowd watched his downfall. The story exploded online the next day. Videos spread like wildfire, with hashtag Justice for Ivana trending everywhere. Thousands shared similar stories of being judged and humiliated. But Ivana's real victory came when she decided to speak out. In a viral video, she said, "I'm Ivana Williams. What happened to me happens to kids everywhere. We're told we're not good enough, but we are. We belong everywhere we choose to be." Her words sparked a movement. People across the country demanded change in stores, schools, and workplaces. Robert watched his daughter's video with pride. He had built a company, but Ivana was building something bigger, a legacy of courage. "You're stronger than I'll ever be," he told her. Ivana smiled. "I learned from the best, Dad." Brad faded into nothing, a warning of what happens when hate goes unchecked. But Ivana's story was just beginning. She started a youth group, teaching kids to stand tall and speak out. The final scene showed Ivana on stage at a community event, her voice ringing clear. "We don't just want fairness. We want a world where nobody has to prove they belong." The crowd erupted in cheers. Sarah was there clapping proudly. Mike, now promoted, stood nearby as a quiet protector. Robert watched from the side, his heart full. His daughter wasn't just his legacy anymore. She was her own. And in the stories shared online, in the policies that changed, in the kids who looked at Ivana and saw hope, the world shifted just a little bit toward justice. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And Ivana Williams, with her steady heart and unbreakable spirit, was leading the way.